Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. You need to stop being too kind to everyone. I don't mean you should become a jerk. I'm not telling you to be rude. I'm not telling you to be selfish. I'm telling you to wake up and realize that being too kind is not a flex. It's a trap, a slow, manipulative, soul-draining trap that too many people fall into because they think kindness means giving everyone access to their energy. Newsflash, it doesn't. You want to know what being too kind really is. It's fear wearing a nice shirt. It's the fear of confrontation. It's the fear of being disliked. It's the fear of saying no. You dress it up as kindness, but deep down, it's you trying to avoid discomfort. And you're calling it noble. That's not noble, that's weak. You think you're helping people. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're bleeding yourself dry trying to please people who don't even care. There's a massive difference between being kind and being a pushover. You've got to stop confusing the two. Kindness is powerful. Real kindness is strength. But being a doormat, that's not kindness. That's you handing your power away over and over again like it doesn't mean anything. That's you letting people walk all over your time, your energy, your goals, your boundaries, and clapping while they do it, and I get it. I really do. You want people to like you. You want to be loved. You want to be seen as the good one, the helpful one, the generous one. You want to avoid conflict. You think if you just keep saying yes, if you keep giving, people will eventually return the favor. But here's the punchline. They won't. Not all of them. Some people will never be satisfied. Some people only show up to take. Some people will keep draining you and smiling while they do it, and you'll keep calling it love or friendship or family or loyalty. You have to wake up to this now. Your time is limited. Your energy is not infinite. You don't get to keep wasting it on people who don't deserve it just because you don't want to look like the bad guy. You are not obligated to save everyone. You're not required to carry someone else's emotional baggage because they refuse to grow. You're not responsible for fixing other people's problems, especially when they don't want to be fixed. But if you keep saying yes to everyone, you'll eventually say no to yourself, and that's the real loss. People always talk about burnout like it's just about working too much, but you know what causes burnout faster than work. Emotional overextension, being too nice, saying yes when you want to say no, giving your time away like it's candy, constantly managing other people's feelings while ignoring your own, that will fry your mental circuits faster than any job ever could. You need to set boundaries, you need to protect your space, and if someone can't handle that, they were never really for you. If someone gets upset because you finally started saying no, they weren't benefiting from your friendship. They were benefiting from your lack of self-respect. And it's time to cut that off. Let me give it to you straight. Not everyone deserves your kindness. You heard me. Not everyone deserves your kindness. You've got to learn to filter who gets your time, your energy, your effort. Just because someone's in your life doesn't mean they've earned your sacrifice. You can love someone and still not let them take advantage of you. You can care for people and still draw the line. That's not mean. That's not cold. That's healthy. And yeah, some people are going to be uncomfortable when you start standing up for yourself. Some people will say you've changed. Some will call you selfish. Let them. Let them say what they want. If being selfish means finally putting your sanity, your peace, your goals, your growth first, then hell yeah, be selfish. Let me tell you something most people won't. Kindness without boundaries is manipulation waiting to happen. The world is full of people who will test how much you're willing to tolerate. And every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you let something slide because you don't want to cause drama, you're giving them the green light to keep pushing. And you wonder why people don't respect you. It's not because you're not good enough. It's because you keep shrinking yourself. You keep bending over backward. You keep showing up for everyone but yourself. You keep giving second chances to people who didn't even deserve the first. You think they'll value you for being the bigger person. No, they'll expect it, and when you finally stop, they'll call you difficult. But you have to stop caring, not about people, but about their opinions. You have to stop living for approval, because chasing validation is the fastest way to lose yourself. You're not alive to be liked. You're alive to be real, you're alive to make a mark, you're alive to do something with your life that actually matters to you. But you can't do that if every day you're getting pulled in 1,000 different directions by people who only care when you're useful. Being kind is great. I'll never knock kindness, but kindness without a backbone, that's emotional bankruptcy. You've got to build some muscle. You've got to get comfortable saying no. You've got to start telling the truth. Even when it's awkward, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts, because truth is clarity, truth is peace, and guess what? You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to say, this doesn't work for me anymore. You're allowed to change. You're not a bad person for drawing the line. You're not evil for prioritizing your mental health. You're not cold for saying, I can't do this anymore. You're wise, you're healing, you're becoming the version of you that doesn't tolerate toxic behavior just to avoid being alone. And that version of you, that's the one who's going to win. That's the one who's going to build something real. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. Respect starts with you. It starts with how you talk to yourself, how you stand up for yourself, how you protect your peace. So stop giving everyone your best while giving yourself your worst. Stop thinking that being used equals being loved. Stop thinking that being exhausted equals being important. You matter, but you've got to start acting like it. You've got to stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop apologizing for having needs. Stop apologizing for not being available 24/7. And yeah, some people won't like the new you. But that's fine because the old you was drowning. This isn't about being heartless. This is about being whole. This is about rising. This is about stepping into your power and refusing to give it away every time someone gets uncomfortable. This is about choosing you, not in a selfish way, but in a necessary way. You can still love hard, you can still give, you can still serve, but do it from overflow, not from depletion. Protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. And if you don't, the world will take it from you without even blinking. Stop being too kind, start being real, and you know what else? The people who really respect you, who genuinely care about you, they're not going to disappear when you start standing up for yourself. They're not going to guilt you for setting boundaries. They're not going to make you feel bad for putting your needs first. The people who truly matter are going to clap when you say no, because they know how much it cost you to finally do it. They're going to understand that protecting your peace is not an attack, it's maturity. But the ones who only saw you as a convenience, as a free ride, as someone they could always lean on without ever giving anything back, they're going to get loud, they're going to act confused, they're going to play the victim, and that's your biggest signal. That right there is all the proof you need that you were giving too much for too long. That your kindness wasn't mutual, it was just expected, and the most messed up part, you trained them, you taught people how to treat you. You showed them that no matter what they did, you'd still show up. You conditioned them to believe that your yes was guaranteed, so when you finally pull it back, of course they're going to resist, of course they're going to throw tantrums, but that's not your problem anymore. That's their lesson to learn. You have to rewire how you see yourself. Stop measuring your value by how much you sacrifice. Stop equating your worth with your ability to be everything for everyone. You were not put on this earth to be drained, used, and discarded. You were not born to play the background in someone else's story. Your life is yours. Your time is yours. Your attention, your space, your mental health. It's all yours, and it's time to take it back. This isn't selfish. This is self-respect. This is survival. This is saying, I love me enough to stop allowing people to take pieces of me just because they ask nicely. Because you've got to understand, not everyone asking deserves access. You're not a public park. You're not a 24-hour hotline. You're a human being with limits, with dreams, with things you're trying to build. And every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with that, you're robbing yourself. And I promise you, every time you dim your light to make someone else comfortable, the universe takes note. Every time you suppress your truth to keep the peace, your soul gets a little quieter, until one day you don't recognize yourself anymore. You wake up exhausted, bitter, resentful, and you don't even know why, but I'll tell you why. It's because you've been betraying yourself in the name of kindness. You've been abandoning your own needs in the name of being nice. But there's nothing nice about self-betrayal. There's nothing loving about resentment, and if you're being kind just to avoid someone else's disappointment, you're not actually being kind. You're being dishonest. You're not serving them. You're pacifying them. You're not being real. You're performing. You're faking peace while you crumble inside, and it's not sustainable. Eventually it breaks. Eventually you either explode or disappear. You either burn out completely or you vanish from the very people you were trying to help. That's the cost of being too kind. You disappear, not all at once, but little by little. Every pleasing moment chips away at you. Every fake yes becomes a piece of yourself you'll never get back. So let me ask you this. What would happen if you stopped being so available? What would change if you stopped replying right away to every text? What would your life look like if you only said yes to things that actually felt like a yes? What would your day feel like if you weren't carrying the emotional weight of 5 other people who never asked how you're doing? You think it's normal because it's familiar, but it's not. You think being drained all the time is just what adulthood feels like. You think being the strong one is your role in life, but maybe you were never supposed to be the strong one for everyone else. Maybe you're meant to be strong for yourself for once, and don't get me wrong, you can still care deeply. You can still be the person who shows up, but let it be by choice, not obligation. Let it be because it aligns with who you are, not because you're scared of what people will think if you say no. Let it be from love, not fear. That's the difference between real kindness and toxic overgiving. One comes from strength, the other comes from insecurity. You don't owe your time to anyone who's not adding to your life. You don't owe your energy to anyone who consistently drains it. You don't owe endless emotional labor to people who refuse to grow. It's not on you to carry someone who refuses to walk. It's not on you to be the therapist, the bank, the motivational speaker, the personal assistant, the punching bag all rolled into one. That's not a relationship. That's a job you didn't apply for, and maybe the hardest part, you're going to have to let some people go. Some people are only in your life because of the version of you that didn't know how to say no. The version of you who always made time, the version of you who ignored your gut. And when you outgrow that version of you, you outgrow them too. It's painful, but it's necessary because your next level demands more. It demands clarity, it demands courage, it demands that you stop being everything for everyone and finally become something for yourself, that you stop being too kind to people who mistake your kindness for weakness, that you stop begging for permission to live your life on your terms, that you stop negotiating with guilt and start negotiating with purpose. You want to build something real, then you better protect your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Focus is the currency of execution, and you can't execute if you're constantly being pulled into everybody else's drama. You can't build anything solid when you're living in reaction mode, saying yes to things just because you don't want to deal with the temporary discomfort of saying no. You can't reach the next level of your life if you're busy babysitting people who refuse to take responsibility for theirs. And yeah, when you stop being too kind, people will start calling you different. You'll hear it. You've changed. Good. That's the whole point. You're supposed to change. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to evolve into someone who's not accessible to every single energy vampire that passes by. You're supposed to level up to a version of you that isn't defined by how much you bend for others, but how much you rise for yourself. You want peace, then make the hard decision. The one where you cut off people who have been feeding off your silence. The one where you stop playing therapist to someone who's not even listening. The one where you cancel the plans you never wanted to make in the first place. Peace is not something you stumble into. Peace is something you earn by being brutally honest with yourself and making uncomfortable decisions that realign your life with your values. You think boundaries are walls. No, boundaries are doors. They let the right people in and keep the wrong ones out. But when you don't set any, you're not being open. You're being unguarded. There's a huge difference. You're just standing there with your arms wide open, hoping someone sees your value instead of treating you like a convenience store. You need to realize that access to you is a privilege. It's not a right. It's not automatic. And it sure as hell isn't free. Stop letting people cash checks with your time that they haven't earned. Stop letting people drain your mental battery and then acting surprised when you're running on fumes. And definitely stop blaming other people for what you keep allowing. Nobody is forcing you to be too kind. That's a choice, a pattern, and patterns don't break on their own. You have to disrupt them, and guess what? The moment you do, something amazing starts to happen. You get your energy back, your creativity kicks in again. You have time, you can think clearly, you start dreaming again, you remember what it feels like to just be. Without the weight of carrying everyone else, you start moving with purpose instead of guilt. You finally hear your own voice without the noise of everyone else's expectations drowning it out. But that clarity, that power, it only shows up after you clean house, after you draw the line, after you start making people earn your presence instead of giving it away like a participation trophy. It shows up when you stop playing the martyr and start playing the architect of your own life. Because let me tell you something, no one's coming to build it for you. No one's going to come into your life and say, "Hey, I think you're being too self-sacrificing. Let me help you fix that." That's your job, that's on you. You've got to look in the mirror and say, "This ends now. I'm done letting people mistake my availability for weakness. I'm done being the person everyone calls when they're in trouble but forgets when I need help." And don't be surprised when the room gets quieter. Don't be shocked when the phone rings less. Don't get discouraged when the fake love disappears. That's a sign you're doing it right. That's a sign the filters are working. Because now the only people who stay are the ones who see your worth without needing something from you every time. You're not meant to be everyone's emotional backup plan. You're not meant to be the fallback person when their life falls apart. You're not meant to be the safety net for people who won't take accountability. That's not your identity. That's not your legacy. The truth is, you've been carrying way too much, and no one handed you a medal. You've been showing up for everyone else while quietly falling apart. And nobody clapped for you, because most people don't notice silent suffering. They notice disruption. So disrupt, shake it up, change the pattern, speak up, say no, redefine your limits, and yeah, people are going to talk. Let them misunderstand you, let them mislabel you. Because while they're busy gossiping about the new you, you'll be too busy building something they can't even fathom. You'll be too focused, too aligned, too at peace to even care. Let them say whatever they want. Let them call you cold, selfish, arrogant. Whatever makes them feel better about losing access to the old version of you. That version was tired. That version was broke, mentally, emotionally, sometimes even financially. That version of you was operating from survival, not intention. That version wasn't thriving. It was barely holding on. You gave that version everything and got nothing but burnout in return. Now it's time to flip the script. Now it's time to walk into every room knowing exactly what you bring to the table. You're not chasing validation. You're not over-explaining yourself. You're not overcompensating because someone can't appreciate your energy. You walk in, you deliver value, and you leave. That's power. That's presence. That's how you start winning on your terms. You have no obligation to shrink to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You don't need to keep yourself small just because other people get insecure when you finally stand tall. You don't owe anyone a muted version of yourself just because they benefited from your silence. If your growth threatens them, that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to protect their fragile egos. You're here to protect your purpose, and you know what happens when you stop trying to be everything to everyone. You finally start becoming everything to yourself. You learn how to back yourself. You start trusting your intuition. You make decisions based on your vision, not on your fears. You stop needing approval from people who don't even approve of themselves. That's real freedom. That's when you become unstoppable. You stop seeking permission. You stop waiting for the green light. You just go, you move, you act, you execute, because you realize you've wasted enough time trying to be liked, trying to be accepted, trying to be nice. You traded your time, your peace, your power, just to avoid being misunderstood, but now you're done negotiating your destiny in exchange for temporary comfort. And here's the wild part. When you finally step into that space of truth, of clarity, of unapologetic self-respect, doors start opening. Real connections come through, real opportunities find you, you stop chasing and start attracting, you stop convincing and start commanding. People feel your shift, they see it, they either rise with you or fall away. And you don't even have to force it. That's what happens when you stop being too kind. You stop living in emotional debt. You stop paying the price for other people's irresponsibility. You stop confusing your generosity with your identity. You finally see yourself as the asset you are, and when you realize your worth, everything changes. You get more selective. You protect your time like it's sacred, because it is. You no longer let just anyone text you at midnight with a crisis. You don't let people hijack your schedule with their emergencies. You create space for your own healing, your own building, your own dreaming, and that space becomes fertile ground. That's where your life starts blooming again. No more apologizing for choosing you. No more guilt for evolving. No more explanations for why your energy is no longer available for things that drain you. Let people adjust or let them leave. Either way, you stay centered. Either way, you stay true, because at the end of the day, being too kind doesn't serve you. It buries you, and you're not here to be buried. You're here to rise. You've got to make a choice. Keep giving pieces of yourself away until there's nothing left, or draw the line and start reclaiming who you are. The truth is, you've spent too long making everyone else comfortable while you suffer in silence. Too long bending so others don't break. Too long tying your identity to how much you can give, fix, or sacrifice. But that stops now. The world doesn't need another burnt-out, overextended people pleaser. It needs someone bold enough to live in truth, someone brave enough to say no without guilt, someone clear enough to protect their peace like it's gold. That someone is you, not tomorrow, not when it's easier. Now, because if you keep being too kind to everyone, you'll never have the energy to be loyal to yourself, and that's who you owe the most.